Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Janikowski, I'm really concerned about the impact of the USF reforms on small carriers. In making these reforms, is it possible that investments by some of these small carriers that were made in 2010 or before under the prior rules are now, that those investments that they made in 2010 or prior, could they be penalized for those investments today?
The challenge we have relates to the discussion topic before. Historically, the program we inherited did provide funding in areas where there were a number of different companies receiving federal subsidies, or provided subsidies to a company where there was an unsubsidized competitor. And it was an element of our reform to reduce that, to phase it out over time so that we could use that money.
So it is possible that some of the investments that they made under the prior rules, now that you changed the rules, could affect their investment now.
It is possible.
Could it put them out of business?
I don't think so, and we are working with the carriers on this transition.
And like in which way are you working with them?
We set up a waiver process that was mentioned before. We're being cognizant of business realities on the ground, and we're working very hard to get the balance right between being trustees of the public money that's being spent and recognizing the business realities on the ground.
Well, let me ask you this question. This waiver process that you spoke about earlier, what do you think it would cost a small carrier to go through the process?
I wouldn't estimate, I couldn't estimate the cost. I'd be happy to follow up with you.
10, 20, 30 dollars, or thousands of dollars, or tens of thousands of dollars, or hundreds of thousands of dollars?
I'd be hesitate to make that recommendation. These are companies
do you think it would cost in excess of $100,000?
I think it would cost a very small fraction of the millions of dollars of public money that they're receiving. And so making sure that we are insisting on accountability.
And have you designed this waiver process so that it's simplistic and it's streamlining? I mean, do you know how many pages it consists of?
That is our goal. That is what we are trying to do. In many cases, the filings are large because they include pre-existing documents like financial reports and other information.
This is the waiver process, Mr. Chairman. I got a company in my district that has already spent over $124,000. They still haven't been able to complete the process. They are telling me that if they don't get the waiver, they're going out of business. That affects my rural residents down in South Louisiana, some of whom live on a very challenging part of our country, out in the coastal areas where communication is necessary, especially during hurricane season. I'm trying to understand how sometimes this administration comes here and says, oh, we fought the small businesses, oh, we're doing everything we can to help them, oh, I'm telling you it's going to be okay, and you leave us with this warm and fuzzy feeling that it's being taken care of. But yet, this doesn't look like a waiver process that's simple. And $124,000 is not chump change. I mean, can't y'all do, and this is going to affect these carriers today.
I recognize your point. In my experience, most of the documents that are submitted to us are documents that have already been prepared, financial reports, other things that we need to do to enforce fiscal responsibility and accountability.
Well, but does the exemption, does the waiver process, is it a one-year exemption, a two-year exemption? I mean, it seems to me there's not a lot of clarification between the FCC and those small rural carriers. I mean, I've spoken to not just the one in my district, but there's one up in Wyoming, I believe, and some in other parts of the country that are having a problem with this.
And I recognize this is important. We've received about 10 waiver requests. In each case, the companies that are seeking waiver requests want federal subsidies equivalent to between $250 per month per customer to $1,300. And we do need to work with the companies to make sure that that level of spending can be justified.
Well, and it's my understanding that y'all used a model in order to implement these reforms. Do you know what the accuracy of that model is?
We are committed to having it be accurate. It's why we have an ongoing.
Well, no, but do you know what the accuracy of that model is? Because according to according to y'all, the accuracy of that model is 62.34%. I mean, I didn't make real good grades in school. I'm going to tell you, I did a little better than 62%. And so my concern again is that you have put a model out there that basically would fail a student in high school, okay? And then you created a waiver process that is unduly burdensome on these small carriers. Can you give us a commitment that y'all going to work with those small carriers to try to reduce the cost and the waiver process and ensure that those carriers continue to be able to provide services in rural areas?
Absolutely. Making sure that consumers don't lose existing service and that the 18 million unserved Americans get service is the fundamental purpose of our reforms.
Okay. If they go out of business, they won't get that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.